Why I'm concerned about this is because I believe a lot of right wing is actually left wing.
What do you mean by that?
They're acting to be right wing.
What do you mean by that exactly? Like put a pin to that.
They're doing this propaganda. मुझे बताओ राम मंदिर से 3 साल पहले किसी ने ब्राह्मण वाला टॉपिक क्यों नहीं उठाया?
ब्राह्मण वाला टॉपिक क्या?
देख लो आप मीडिया पे क्या चल रहा है.
हम देख ले.
They started bashing Brahmins just hours before the Ram Mandir.
And why would they do that?
I'm telling you because they're left wing.
That's not sufficient logic, Ankit. You have to be more precise.
It's so clear. अच्छा.
हाँ.
मैं तो जब the moment I have started speaking in social media and platforms, तब से बहुत improvement आया है इन लोगों में. Otherwise, the way they were speaking to Bhartiyas from stage, तुम गधे हो, तुम बेवकूफ हो. India has done nothing.
कौन है?
This right wing who's actually acting as right wing.
But
this is Lutyens Delhi. Lutyens Delhi.
Can we put a name and face to this?
Well, we can't put. Why should we put a name and face? People can identify
because they've
been degrading Bharat from every stage, every nationalist stage.
See, मैं ये मान सकता हूँ that there was an old media, an old guard. 2014, 15, 16 तक भी वो active था.
वो तो पूरा leftist था.
वो that I can see as very different.
उनसे तो मुझे problem ही नहीं है. अब तो वो दिखाई भी नहीं देते.
अब ये new left जिसकी आप बात कर रहे हो, मैं कैसे separate करूँ? Next time मेरे को किसी को बात करनी है, podcast पे लाना है कि ये new left है, pretending to be right.
They've been promoting beef, right and left. Okay.
I know one person like that.
No, I'm not talking about just one person. There are many.
But if putting that name would help the cause, is this like...
No, the person knows that I'm talking about him. But
I think I know.
But that's not the problem with just one person.
Okay.
I'm saying.
Okay.
There is a cabal of people who are intent on, because the entire bunch started talking caste discrimination just hours before Ram Mandir. Why were they shut? Why their mouths were shut for 3 years? Last 3 years I didn't hear any caste thing from their mouths.
And was there an occasion?
And these are the same people who are saying we just want 3 mandirs. Who are you to decide first of all?
नहीं, who is anybody to decide except like people in power?
मैं बता रहा हूँ ना, आप मुझे पूछ रहे हो कि कैसे आइडेंटिफाई करोगे कैसे लोग हैं.
ठीक.
मैं आपको डिस्क्रिप्शन दे रहा हूँ
कि लेकिन अच्छा इसमें भी I think there is a point here. अब कोई भी आदमी,
क्योंकि ना मुस्लिम साइड से कोई मैसेज आया कि हम 3 ही देंगे या 3 नहीं देंगे या 3 से ज्यादा देंगे. तुम सामने से क्यों बता रहे हो कि हमको 3 चाहिए? मुझे बताओ, रीजन बता दो.
किस मुद्दे पे? मेरे को तो आपको थोड़ा बेस देना पड़ेगा.
मंदिर से आई एम सेइंग,
जो जैसे राम मंदिर बनने से पहले वो बोलने लगे कि हमें 2 और मंदिर चाहिए.
नहीं, मंदिर बनने के बाद इन्होंने बोलना शुरू किया कि हमको 3 ही चाहिए
और 3 से ज्यादा नहीं चाहिए.
हाँ.
अच्छा. और उसमें द इशू इज कि ये लेफ्टिस्ट नहीं है इसलिए ऐसा कह रहे हैं.
बिल्कुल.
और इस लेफ्टिज्म से इनको क्या मिलेगा? व्हाट इज देयर पर्सनल गेन इन दिस?
वेल, there is no personal gain. They are trying to damage the government as much as possible. But now they are exposed a lot. I mean, they are exposed beyond reparation now.
Acha. All of this having said, I still cannot place who these people are, but I'm assuming the audience will understand.
Audience को समझ आ जाएगा. पता है. When I tweet, people know. हाँ. क्योंकि बहुत सारा कॉमन चीजें हैं जो वेस्ट से उठा के यहाँ पे वो पेस्ट करते हैं.
मेरे को ये पता है that the modern right wing जो डिस्कोर्स है.
अच्छा, दूसरा अच्छा, ये इनका एक खासियत है. They are trying to say that Hinduism reformed itself. They are trying to say कि बहुत गंदगी थी. This is their understanding. और हिंदुओं ने खुद इसको रिफॉर्म किया. Now these fools do not understand. और कौन सी गंदगी की बात कर रहे हैं? बालिका वधू, घूंघट, सती, जोहर. All these were to defend yourself against the Islamic. भाई तू मुंह खोल पा रहा है, तू survive कर रहा है because of बालिका वधू. Be thankful and grateful to your ancestors.
You are saying child marriage helped us survive against the Islamic invasion.
We all are alive because of बालिका वधू. What are you saying?
Because अब जल्दी शादी हो गई तो
जल्दी शादी नहीं करवाई गई. और ये मैंने predict कर दिया है कि यूरोप को करना पड़ेगा बालिका वधू. If they want to survive the radicals, they will have to.
Because how does that help?
That lady will get security of 2 families. Otherwise, the grooming gangs is standing outside.
And so you think that the Islamic invasion, it was a smaller error to prevent against a bigger mistake? Do you see it like that?
Which error?
Like my question is,
it's a defense to save yourself from extinction.
And there was absolutely no problem with that per se. कोई मतलब उसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं है morally speaking. I'm just trying to understand your point of view about it.
I am saying you are trying to save yourself. You had to produce n number of male child to fight with those radicals, which is only possible if you send the girl as early as possible to the home, and then you have to copy everything which the enemy had. They had a burqa, you had to do a gungat.
And why
they couldn't came out? You didn't let your women out because she would be molested outside, right? These were all defenses. And these people are trying to say we reformed Hinduism. Nobody can reform Hinduism, let me tell you, because Sanatan is in auto reform mode. कोई एक बंदा आके कर ही नहीं सकता, because this is not a commandment or a one book thing. तो कर ही नहीं सकता कोई रिफॉर्म. तो कोई भी बोल रहा है, भर भर के ये लोग बुक्स लिख रहे हैं. आई नो दे आर राइटिंग बुक्स, लॉट मेनी बुक्स. लाइक हमने तो ये इम्प्रूव कर लिया हिंदुइज्म में, देखो तुम इस्लाम को भी रिफॉर्म करो. भाई साहब, यू कांट रिफॉर्म हिंदुइज्म because it is in auto reform pilot mode as it is.
And how is this in auto reform mode?
Because there are no commandments.
तो फिर how does that also?
जैसे ही इन्वेजन खत्म हुआ, that child marriage automatic कम हुआ है. अच्छा, कुछ लोगों ने रेस किया होगा वॉइस, but I'm not saying that that person is going to have that one god kind of status जिसकी वजह से reform हो गया. No, the society has the brain enough. अच्छा, दूसरा भी misconception है, brain drain वाला. Total misconception. There hasn't been any brain drain from India. This was Dharma drain, not brain drain. NRIs were not successful because they were intelligent. NRIs are successful because their concept comes from Sanatan Economics of handling finance. That they are going to take care of parents as well as the next generation, which reduces the divorces rates, have a savings lifestyle, which ensures completion of education of the next generation, which is why they were successful.
Let me pause this conversation for a second to remind you the subscribe button is right underneath the video. And if you haven't pressed it, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? You're loving this conversation. You enjoy this. You want to watch more of this. So press the subscribe button and press the bell icon right next to it so I can see you around for more conversations just like this. I want to come to Sanatan Economics more centrally. एक 5-7 मिनट में. उससे पहले हम लोग, I want to ask something about auto reform. For something to be in auto reform largely means ki it is.
There is no one book.
There is no one book. But then
that
how
is auto reform.
How? क्योंकि ऐसा भी हो सकता है it means no reform.
No.
Why?
Because when there is no book to guide, it means that people are free to do the questioning and seeking on their own.
And then that could also mean bad reform.
That can be bad reform.
So auto reform can also be significantly bad reform.
Every reform can be bad reform.
Yeah, yes, but centralized reform में at least there is some sense of जैसे हम
centralized means what?
One book.
One book reform you think is a good way of reforming?
I'm not saying that. I want you to follow what I'm saying more carefully because otherwise we will jump into rhetoric and never really answer a question. What I'm saying is अगर हम auto reform की बात कर रहे हैं and we are so dependent कि हाँ auto reform बढ़िया. I'm pro Sanatan. Let me not get this wrong, right? How are we sure that this auto reform will not go extremely south and in a very bad direction? Because लोगों की individuality
because
पे,
it is individual, it will not go south.
हाँ, और मैं लोगों की individuality पे ₹1.5 का भरोसा नहीं करता. लोग कुत्ते होते हैं.
If something can go south, it has to be mob based, which is not the case with Sanatan.
No. क्या आप कह रहे हो individual आदमी चोर नहीं होता, सिर्फ भीड़ चोर होती है?
नहीं.
फिर?
What I'm saying, someone which is, it's a top down approach, mob based, can produce 10,000 chores. Okay.
Sure.
Individual deciding to become a chore is a rare possibility.
You see, this will run into trouble when you begin to make an argument that free market capitalism does not work because that is also an atomized individual based game.
Free market capitalism is a complete different concept. उसमें तो there are many gaps, which is what the world is facing right now. In fact, the entire Western governance is now taken over by capitalists.
This is exactly my point, which is auto reform, which is a free market essential.
It was not auto reform. Free market capitalism was not auto reform.
Then what was free market capitalism?
Free market capitalism was a unipolar, unidirectional application of currency that was done with a centralized banking.
That happens like somewhere in the mid 1800s, 1750 में, और उससे भी पहले when free markets, see free markets को हमें Adam Smith से tie करने की जरूरत नहीं. Adam Smith describes free markets.
He just describes, but he has shown a lot many of benefits which attracted people to follow that style.
I think that is the rawest version of economics available to us, which is the auto reform model. कि देखो लोग अपने इंडिविजुअल इंटरेस्ट चेज करते हैं,
उसमें कुछ लोग गलत भी करते हैं, कुछ लोग सही भी करते हैं. जो आउटसाइड लिमिटेशन ऑफ रॉन्ग है उसको हमें पॉलिसी से करेक्ट करना चाहिए. यहां पे हमारे पास डेमोक्रेसी, लॉ और पॉलिसी वाला आइडिया आता है. इनसाइड मार्केट्स विल करेक्ट देमसेल्व्स ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. So, if on one end you say that, Sanatan free hand, sort of invisible hand kind of works and individual choices get corrected over time, you also have to admit they happen in market.
You're mixing two things.
No, I'm comparing two things.
No. Within Sanatan, you're mixing two things.
Achha.
So, when we talk about Sanatan economics, what are we trying to say here? We are saying that Dharma says that you are the soul. Body is just a vehicle.
Sure.
Now, if you are a soul, which means that you are going to come back to the planet, you are going to have life cycles.
You is not guaranteed. The soul will have life cycle. You don't exist.
Yeah.
You don't exist.
Yeah.
So
you are the soul. You are not the body.
But are you saying the you?
West is saying that you are the body and you just have one life. Okay. That is the Western Abrahamic economics.
But even with Dharma, and because again,
let me complete Sanatan economics.
Yes. Sorry, I got excited.
So what happens is, when you come up with this one life concept of living life, you're going to focus your entire economic models based on the material factor of production, because you want to consume everything in just this one life.
Sure.
Right? Now, what are the flaws or repercussions of that? The very first one is that you come up with concepts like war economy, which means you don't have to win any wars, because as long as it goes, it's an economic gain.
Yep.
You come up with dominating countries and looting their natural resources. And you think that is wealth, because natural resources is immediate wealth is what you think. Now, in Sanatan economics, what happens is you are only mainly working on the man factor of production. Other factors of production are important, but they are not as important as the economic models need to be as much human-centric that it should be. So when you're working on the man factor of production, you are saying that you are going to take care of the parents. The state is not supposed to take care of the parents. You are saying you are going to take care of the next generation, and as much stability of the marriage that you're going to have, because those 7 oaths of marriage talking about duties. It's not talking about any of the rights. Okay? That gives a sustainable economics, because the wealth of nations always transferred through family unit economics. So even in our ancient text, you will find that the individual needs to give up his core, hyper individualism for the sake of the family. The family needs to give up hyper family attitude for the sake of the community. The community needs to give up its hyper community aims in the interest of the nation.
Okay.
This is a sustainable Sanatan economics model. Now what happened in the West is...
One second, मैं एक बार summarize कर दूं इसको. So आपने मेरे को बोला कि वेस्टर्न मॉडल ये है कि एक लाइफ है मैक्सिमम कंजम्पशन. कंजम्पशनिस्ट मॉडल है, खाओ उड़ाओ और उस प्रोसेस में
डेट बेस्ड.
वॉर में जाओ, ठीक है, वॉर में जाओ, प्रॉफिटेबल इकोनॉमी है, ठीक है, अपना बढ़िया पैसा बनता रहता है. मैं बिल्कुल अग्री करता हूँ. कंजम्पशनिज्म और द फॉल ऑफ वेस्ट, उस वाले एंगल से मैं बिल्कुल अग्री करता हूँ. फिर आप कहते हो दैट देयर इज अ स्विच वी हैव टू मेक.
इवन they have turned man factor of production into material factor of production, which is where they started glorifying job as a format of empowerment. This has started only with pound as a single country reserve currency. The world needs to know this.
We are jumping too far ahead. मेरे को एक बार, क्योंकि मेरे लिए वो सारे लॉजिकल ब्रिज करना बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है मेरे भेजे के लिए, वरना मैं छूट जाऊँ, मेरे को समझ नहीं आएगा आप क्या कह रहे हो. फिर आप कह रहे हो हमें सनातनी जो इकोनॉमिक्स है उसमें हम मटेरियल से ज़्यादा मैन फैक्टर पे फोकस करते हैं. और मैन फैक्टर का अर्थ ये है कि हाइपर इंडिविजुएशन को हमें फैमिली को हमें कम्युनिटी को हमें नेशन के साथ, उस एथिक के साथ रिप्लेस करना है. और उस प्रोसेस में आप अपनी फैमिली की पिछली जनरेशन, नेक्स्ट जनरेशन का ध्यान रखते हो. आपका मैरिज का जो सर्कल है वो कंप्लीट रहता है, बिकॉज ऑफ द 7 oaths आर योर ड्यूटी बाउंड, एंड इन दैट प्रोसेस वेल्थ इज ट्रांसफर्ड बेटर. है ना, यही डिफरेंस है.
दैट्स द ओनली करेक्ट वे टू
अंडरस्टैंड. तो मैंने सही समझा. अब आप आगे बताओ. सॉरी.
So what happens with the West is that with pound as a single country reserve currency, they came up with this concept of job as an empowerment, where they set up this classroom model where human beings need to be pushed into four walls, completely away from the market realities. So they turn out as jobbers primarily.
Right.
And since women as well is a factor of production for them, they came up with this fancy idea of co-education. Three ideas. One, to divert the profits to missionary conversion from the education campus, education profits. And second idea was to convert entire society into jobbers because they needed slaves for factories, especially that 18th century industrialization phase. And the idea was that Adam Smith came up with this benefit of division of labor. So say 15 different families are producing 15 different designs of shirts in the market. Adam Smith says, let's remove 14 designs from the market. I'll put up a factory. Whatever is your family corpus, hand it over to me, and you become my jobber. Okay, this is how 90% wealth of the nation got shifted within the hands of 5%. This is what happened.
And you were saying usse pehle wealth was with 100% people, because usse
I
pehle
don't
was
say 100%, but
usse pehle to aur bura
it
haal
was
tha.
it was a fairly good society where, in fact, there are clear references that there were no beggars, there was no poverty, there was no inflation, there
You were
was
saying-
no unemployment. I'm talking about ancient Bharat.
No. So Adam Smith is 1750. He's writing The Wealth of Nations 1750. And अच्छा ठीक है. Let's not run into this. पहले मैं आपका last वाला point summarize करता हूँ. So you were saying that to feed this sort of economy, जहाँ पे material consumption is maximal, वहाँ पे इन लोगों को schooling system invent करना पड़ा, जहाँ पे वो school में एक level पे slaves create करते थे, जो बाद में जाके jobbers बनते थे, जिससे capitalist
It's
जो है
human trafficking from classroom to jobs.
ठीक है, वो कैपिटलिस्ट उनके बेसिस पे ही वुड मेक मनी, वेरी सिमिलर टू व्हाट मार्क्स वुड से इन सम सेंस, राइट? मार्क्स सेड द सेम थिंग कि all this job creation is effectively hidden slavery, and you know the capitalist is the master who makes all the money. And इसमें the co-education angle I did not quite understand. What did you mean by?
What I'm trying to say is the Western economies lost their birth rates by deploying women as a unit of labor for temporary GDP. That is what I'm saying.
Okay, so they also encouraged women as labor force for whatever reason, and that has led to a fall in fertility and birth rates. Right. Okay.
They've been showcasing job model as empowerment,
Okay.
and then eventually for women
There is
as well.
downsides to that. There is clear downsides to that. You're saying, right?
Yeah, there is perpetual poverty economics with that.
Right. There is a very real case to be made that fertility and childbirth in Western countries is truly a demographic issue that they're not willing to address.
Because they have this one life concept coming from religion. That is their economics.
So tell me a little more about this one life concept, because how is Ankit even going to know he is Ankit in the next life?
Why does he want to know?
So then
He needs
how
to
does
know that he has parents. He needs to know that he's going to have children. And he needs to know that,
how does that change behavior in this life?
why not?
How? Not
You see,
why.
the NRIs are successful exactly because of that. In the Western world, by the time they reach education, 2-3 parents have changed already. Now, if they didn't had the single country reserve currency format, how were they supposed to give these retirement benefits and Medicaid to the parents?
No.
If you can explain me that.
नहीं, I think we've again jumped topic. I want to bring it back to, अगर मैं ये मानता हूँ प्रखर सनातनी इकोनॉमिक्स में फॉलो करता है, वो ये समझता है मैं सोल हूँ, मैं आत्मा हूँ, मैं बॉडी नहीं हूँ, तो उससे मेरा how is that going to change my economic behavior in the sense
You have a savings lifestyle. You are
Achha.
not going to have a consumption lifestyle.
अच्छा, in that way.
Yes.
Achha, okay. And that saving lifestyle will then impact
That becomes the seed fund for the next generation.
that becomes the seed fund for the next generation, as well as takes care of the previous generation.
Yes.
Now about that, you
Which
said
means that you are least dependent on the state.
अच्छा,
Okay.
ठीक. So how do you then deal with the internal contradiction कि एक तरफ धर्म is a autodidact sort of auto reform individual thinking for itself model, and on the other end the individual must move hyper individuation से family से community. Are we not moving towards the same mob that you said would bring?
No.
How is that internal contradiction?
Because all four are clearly given to you. Dharma, Jati, Kul and Varn. All four duties are very clear. That you are going to do Kul means you are going to do your family duties. Jati means you are going to do your community duties. Varn means you are going to do your occupational duties, and dharma means at individual level you are finally seeking liberation for your soul.
So you are saying कि at the level of self धर्म मैं individual रहूंगा, at the level of कुल धर्म मैं family oriented रहूंगा, और तो अगर कुल धर्म से conflict आती है self धर्म पे तब क्या होगा? And how does one ensure कि कुल धर्म,
which is why the 4 phases are clearly given to you. The first 25 years you're going to be celibate, you're going to only study, right? So that 4 sections are very clearly given. The last one is Vanapastashram, right?
First 25 years celibate. See, this is my trouble, right? हम लोग इसको शुरू में बात कर रहे थे कि जब हम धर्म की बात करने लगते हैं, because there is so much internal contradiction, I worry introducing it into law. मेरा I have no.
Shouldn't be introduced into a law. It should never be, because every time it's going to be a different context.
Right.
Other than that, you know that you need to have a duty-based society.
Now,
you don't have to put it into a law.
बालिका, हम जब बात कर रहे थे बालिका वधू being justified in whatever sense, अब 25 साल सेलिब्रेट रहना है कि बालिका वधू करना है?
Which one?
जब अभी हम बालिका वधू की बात कर रहे थे ना, as a defense.
That is what I'm saying. That's an invasion. That is why we don't have commandments.
So अब नहीं, मैं वही तो कह रहा हूँ, आदमी कैसे डिसाइड करे उस मोमेंट में? अंकित जी, मैं यहाँ बैठा हूँ, अब मेरे पे इन्वेजन हो रहा है और मेरे को यहाँ पे मेरा...
Obviously, invasion is about your survival. You are going to pick that, which is why we don't have one book and one God. This is exactly why we don't have.
What is exactly why?
Commandments. We don't have commandments for this specific
So that
reason.
there is context.
Obviously,
So
there
that
is
there is
context.
context.
That is why Sanatan society is an auto reform mode, autopilot. No one person can come and say, do this and change yourself. No. Which is why, that is why it is.
Okay. No one person can come and say it should be this way.
Which is why I have problem with so many authors who are saying that change ये कर लो, वो कर लो, जाति वर्ण और कुल को हटा दो और धर्म रखते हैं. You how can a car move on one vehicle?
Right.
It's very stupid thing to say.
So Sanatan economics is a duty-based economics model.
Duty-based society it is. And more into entrepreneurship, because ultimately the wealth of nations passes by a family unit. So you are seeing a lot of radicals entering the Europe. Why? They are giving an excuse that we don't have labor, we don't have birth rates, so we have to bring people into work. Japan has lost birth rates, China has lost birth rates, US has lost it, EU has lost it, Russia has lost it. This comes from Abrahamic economics, because you don't understand that the wealth needs to be transferred via family unit economics.
Sure, I agree that wealth needs to be transferred, and the family is the death of a spiritual backbone for a lot of these countries. But how's about countries that are capitalistic, free market in nature, but have a family economics built into it? Like there is Latin American countries, Global South, Middle Eastern countries, fairly, जो 2-4 democratic बची हैं, उनका क्या? How do you think of them? And is free market not also the dominant economic idea in India? मतलब धर्म तो हमारा spiritual idea है ना, कि मेरे को मोक्ष के लिए काम करना है. मैं जब मार्केट में नौकरी ढूंढने जाता हूँ, मोक्ष के लिए नौकरी थोड़ी ढूंढता हूँ.
जॉब मॉडल को एम्पावरमेंट माना ही नहीं जाता.
चलो मैं धंधा भी करता हूँ, मोक्ष के लिए थोड़ी धंधा करता हूँ.
मोक्ष के लिए नहीं करते. Even in doing business, not to say that ancient Bharat did not have big businesses. There were huge businesses even in ancient Bharat. And not to say that they never had profit objective, they had a profit objective.
Right.
But the only difference was, if I'm to draw a parallel, right now as we have in the corporate what we call as a position of independent director. I don't know how far it works. I'm very doubtful.
आप चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट हो, आपको नहीं पता है क्या बात कर रहे हो.
I'm very doubtful. But ancient Bharat, I would tell you, I'll tell you, ancient Bharat had a concept called Shreshti. So Shreshti is a person who is seen as ethically, morally high regard in the community. Now someone like that heading the big business, and that ensures, because the family members are also involved, as I said, entrepreneurship model, the reputation of the family is at stake. They would not do any extreme step for profits that would harm human life. Which is not a control which I see in the Western Abrahamic systems, where in fact there's a clear design where you can see first the management resigns, then the next bank takes over, then the next bank is in trouble, right? So this is where Dharma has a very big role. In fact, when we do this Dhanteras, it's the only civilization which celebrates ethical profits as a community festival. And when we write that Shri Sabha on the book, what we say is profits need to be curbed to at least 25% of cost. Don't go beyond that.
इस केस में जो ये श्रेष्ठी
Not just
है,
that, even there are examples where even today when you go to a shop and buy something, after weighing the product, the guy will add something little more.
yeah, right.
Right? So these traditions, dharmic traditions are there, which will not be the case. You go to DMart, there's going to be a precise weightage and precise price that you need to pay. So there's a big difference over here. There were traditions like the shops in the lane would put up a seat outside, a chair outside the shop, and that would signal the other shops that we have still not have had the first customer today. Okay, so each one has to cooperate with each other. के बाजू वाले का भी चल रहा है business, right? So there were these dharmic concepts in business as well.
Right. Now, ये जो श्रेष्ठी की आप बात कर रहे थे, if they are ethically morally superior in some sense,
Considered in the community.
yeah, considered, तो फिर उनको पावर मिल गई ना बिजनेस में धर्म डिक्टेट करने की थोड़ी. Because पता है, the thing is, in this entire discussion,
Dictate करने की in the sense.
हाँ, so in this entire discussion we are making, and the reason why I'm drawing all these parallels is because, see, मेरा purpose as a podcaster is to take somebody who exists in modernity and draw them closer to the ideas that you have. Because आपके ideas ना literally यहाँ हैं. Like बहुत superior ideas हैं. They are extremely new. Nobody I've ever come across has spoken to me about Sanatan Economics. धनतेरस के ये concepts. I have never seen this come out. तो मेरे लिए वो एक एक step draw करना, इसीलिए मैं summarize वगैरह करता हुआ चल रहा हूँ. ना, अब वो मेरी बात इसमें ये है कि हम इस पूरी डिस्कशन में एक चीज़ जो एड्रेस नहीं कर रहे हैं वो है किस तरीके से पावर बनती है और कंसोलिडेट होती है और किस तरीके से पावर मिसयूज होती है. तो इस श्रेष्ठी के आइडिया में, सपोज मैं श्रेष्ठी हूँ, आपका बिजनेस है, आपकी फैमिली का बिजनेस है, मैं कंसिडर्ड मॉरली सुपीरियर किसी भी सेंस में, और मैं बोलने लगूँ ए नहीं बी होगा फॉर सम रीजन जो मैं सही भी सोचता हूँ, हो सकता है मैं गलत भी सोचता हूँ, क्योंकि इंसान गलत भी सोचते हैं, इंडिविजुअल्स गलत भी सोचते हैं, और उस प्रोसेस में आपके बिजनेस का भी लॉस हो सकता है, या सपोज मैंने कुछ सोचा जो सही है मेरे दिमाग में बट आपके लिए गलत निकल सकता है. तो उस केस में फिर ये वही बात नहीं हो गई कि एक माइक्रो सेंस में कमांडमेंट आ गई और उस कमांडमेंट के चक्कर में धर्म का विनाश हो गया.
These commandments has to come from
वन सोर्स ना.
नहीं, not one, just not one source. Commandments is when it is a law, it is a religious law coming from the book. It cannot come from just one person.
In some context, like अगर किसी के घर में पापा कहते हैं,
you are taking this thing to that.
हाँ.
There's a big difference between the two.
बट
Right.
अगर किसी के घर में किसी के पापा कहते हैं
जैसे
7
वो
बजे के
कास्ट
बाद,
डिस्क्रिमिनेशन का बात हो जाता है. It's not written as a law, right? In any of the kingdom, ancient Hindu kingdom, क्या ऐसा करो तुम.
there was a
Right.
law to the effect that if you're a Brahmin and you cross the ocean, you lose your caste, and that was a discourager for Brahmins to cross the ocean.
Again, that you have to understand what context that period was.
Yes, tell me.
So we would not know, right, what context that was. You can't say that, okay, are you telling me Brahmins are not going today across the seas?
You know, but that has to probably do with the reform that has come to the caste idea.
Reform, that is what I'm saying. It's auto-reform mode. Individuals are crossing the seas.
All things are auto-reform modes. If
No.
you think about it, like even the harshest critic of Islam can say that some parts of Islam have reformed,
It has
maybe 1%.
begun. Hopefully it has begun.
Hopefully, right?
Because
The harshest critic might say that 0.01% of Muslims recognize that there is a very radical end of Islam that we don't want to be a part of, and they have self-realized that. Auto-reform, much like free market reform, much like the invisible hand, is the idea that individuals act in self-interest, nahi?
This is not self-interest actually.
But उसको आप उसमें
Auto-reform means that you are being allowed to use the brain, which is not happening in lot of commandment-based societies.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So that is why Sanatan is a science of seeking, and it is not someone telling you what you are supposed to do, which is why in the same home you can have one Bhagwan and two Bhagwan and no Bhagwan at all, and going to 5 mandirs and 3 mandirs, and you can also change Bhagwan and maybe.
Which I think is beautiful. मैं समझता हूँ क्या strength है.
That is your individual seeking.
I have one more question about the Sanatani economics model, and then I want to move to the prediction part, which I think is so fascinating, Ankit ji. मेरा question ये है आपसे, if Sanatan economics truly worked and the Sanatan way of being truly worked, why, as a defender of it, would you say did it fall so poorly to Islamic invasion? or for that matter, the British model of doing things?
Okay, this is something that needs to be clarified.
Right.
So I believe, this is my understanding, I believe that we did not lose because we were weak. We lost because we were advanced. Advanced governance. Advanced governance in the sense, if I'm to give you a loose example, say today the Prime Minister says each state can have its own army to fight against the external enemies. Not police, external enemies. Now, that was the autonomous advanced governance structure where the Janapadas were free to do their own defense. Now, once you give out your defense and you have not centralized it as a central power, what happens is now each of that state is on its own to defend the external enemies. So we went to advanced governance.
How's that advanced if it is losing?
It is advanced.
If it is losing?
No. So you mean to say that advanced doesn't lose?
Yeah, I mean the whole purpose of advance
America
is to not
has
lose.
the most high-tech weapons.
Yeah, it will not lose
It
a war.
always lost. It went outside Afghanistan, lost it. Vietnam, it lost it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we all know कि वहाँ पे there are moral paradigms. मतलब अफगानिस्तान को उनको न्यूक करना होता तो वो कर देते.
कर देते.
हाँ, existentially lose नहीं करते.
Understand.
They lost at their home. They did not lose
They
in
lost
their
with
home.
some other interest, and that's
हाँ.
another game where that is going on.
But it's a very different. I think advance का purpose ही strength है ना.
No.
हाँ.
Advance का purpose strength है. But when someone is coming to your door who is just an infant, you are at an advanced stage. Now you were not able to consolidate the defense to attack that guy, and that guy was poor. The only thing he had to do was loot. So he was able to consolidate all its weapons for the looting process.
And
you were enjoying the architecture, the design, because you were advanced.
And so there can be an argument कि आप उस advancement में realistic concerns हाथ से जाने दे रहे हो, आप existentially threaten हो गए.
But once it is given up, once you have given up the defense to Janapadas, then there is reversal is very difficult.
That would mean कि हम militarily उतने advanced नहीं थे because we could not foresee.
We were militarily advanced.
उतने नहीं थे.
Well, you can say because these are different phases of period.
ठीक.
But you can say that since when they reached here, all the invaders who reached till Bharat, they looted those provinces and came. They had quite an economic might to convert into brutality. Right? Which was not the case with us because we never been outside the continent to loot people because we've been giving 27% to the world GDP on an average for 1800 years without English language, without looting any continent, and without a single country reserve currency status.
Agreed. See, पता है, the reason is I'm interested in this renaissance. जो ये हो रहा है, this moment is beautiful. This civilizational moment is gorgeous. My trouble is हम जैसे ही इस पूरे प्रोसेस में गुड और बैड सेपरेट करना भूल जाएंगे ना, और उस गुड और बैड का सेपरेशन का प्रोसेस ये क्वेश्चंस हैं जहां हम समझ सके क्या वीकनेस रही, क्या गलतियां रही, क्योंकि ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि हम लोग परफेक्ट थे और अचानक भगवान विल्ड कि हमारे साथ कुछ गलत हो जाए, बिकॉज वी वर ऑल्सो इन आवर ओन एडमिशन एग्जिस्टेंशियली थ्रेटन फॉर ओवर 1000 years टू आवर कोर, वेयर हम जिस शहर में हम बैठे हैं उसका नाम अहमदाबाद है ना. तो वी वर एग्जिस्टेंशियली थ्रेटन जहां पे एवरीथिंग फ्रॉम आवर बुक्स एंड कॉलेजेस एट तक्षशिला ऑल द वे टू द नेम्स ऑफ आवर सिटीज वर ट्रांसफॉर्म्ड within the same argument structure by an invader. Now, that has to mean that there was something wrong, and unless we are able to identify that wrong, I don't think we deserve to identify what is right, because we might make the mistake of being overconfident.
We have identified.
Please let me finish. We might make the mistake of being overconfident in our past, which is probably the same mistake as being overconfident in the future, and that is always catastrophic. Do you agree?
100%.
Okay. There is one more thing, which
is why Bengal needs action.
Well, I don't know anything about it. But there is one more thing, which is about this Shubh Labh and ethical profit thing. I agree. Matlab, this has to be said, oh my God, that family structure and that the community must share with each other. But the level at which it becomes policy and you as a chartered accountant, me as an ex-chartered accountant student, me coming from a chartered accountancy family, understand that at the level of policy, there is no truth, it is only corruption. आप policy में कहे कुछ भी दो, होता कुछ और है. And why I'm mentioning this is, अगर हम एक सनातनी इकोनॉमिक्स इस तरीके की डिसाइड करते हैं, where I've heard you say कि 25% प्रॉफिट कैप होना चाहिए. एक तो I don't know कौन सी कंपनियां 25% प्रॉफिट एक्चुअली बनाती हैं, बट दूसरा it's a very right.
That's a you're mixing two things.
अच्छा हाँ, please.
25% I was talking about, giving an example of those entrepreneurial shops
Right.
that used to run those days.
Right. मेरा पॉइंट ये है, पता है, जब हम एक
How
ड्यूटी
do we
बेस्ड
bring this to policy?
ड्यूटी बेस्ड इकोनॉमिक्स को पॉलिसी में बनाने, पॉलिसी भी छोड़ो, एज अ कल्चरल नॉर्म बनाना भी मेरे को नहीं लगता पॉसिबल है.
Possible है.
क्योंकि एक आदमी को सेल्फिश होना होता है, सारे आदमी पागल हो जाते हैं.
हाँ.
आप समझो, मैंने और हम 8 लोगों के बीच में पिज्जा रखा हुआ है और हमने डिसाइड किया हम एक बाइट लेंगे. जैसे ही एक आदमी दूसरे बाइट के लिए आगे बढ़ेगा ना, बाकी साथ सारा खाना शुरू कर देंगे. दीज आर गेम्स दैट एवरीबडी हैज टू बी इन बेस्ट बिहेवियर for them to exist, and in 1.5 billion people you cannot have best behavior cultural norms spread across the nation.
You cannot have with this the current classroom system. Certainly you can't have
with nothing at all. I think इंसान की biological और pragmatic नहीं है. कैसे?
So that is what Sanatan is, that
Tell
you have
me.
to work on the man factor of production. You can have as many policies in place. Maybe you bring some drastic policy and get something done, but that all will be temporary. Okay.
Yes.
Today you can have, say for example, 10 capitalists. Just giving an example. 10 capitalists who collected a lot of money, made a lot of profit, and now think that maybe this was not the goal and not yet satisfied. So they would go to some guru, Dharma guru, and the Dharma guru will say, "Ek kaam karo, thoda fund de do. Will some open up a charity hospital." Right. So why can't we go reverse, where the capitalists do not pocket this much money that this kind of solutions, temporary solutions, need to be done of a charity hospital? If they were able to keep their profits with a dharmic behavior already, then they would not need to reach that stage where they are now not satisfied.
Who is ensuring dharmic behavior?
This is what the duty of the gurukuls is.
So you are saying गुरुकुल्स में सिखा दिया तो लोग सीख जाएंगे?
There has to be concerted efforts.
I think this duty-based idea, and this is what the communists missed terribly in their explanation. Communists identified the problem properly, which is the same problem as you. जो labor है वो slave है. They identified the problem properly. Their error was जब उन्होंने एक वो duty-based proletariat का model बनाया.
नहीं, वो तो freebies मांग रहे हैं. This is not धर्म.
Maybe modern communism. In the communist manifesto का जो एक्सटेंट, जो सार है, इट इज बेसिकली कि जो ये लेबर क्लास है ये राइज करेगी, कैपिटलिस्ट को ओवरथ्रो करेगी और एक फेयर गवर्नमेंट बनाएगी. उन्होंने भी वही चीज मिस करी जो सारी ड्यूटी बेस्ड इकोनॉमिक मॉडल्स मिस करते हैं, विच इज व्हाई आई एम बिग फैन ऑफ फ्री मार्केट कैपिटलिज्म, इज द एलिमेंट ऑफ पावर एंड द मिसयूज ऑफ पावर. नाउ व्हाई आई एम सेइंग दिस इज, धर्मगुरु अपनी पावर ढंग से एक्सरसाइज करेगा, उसकी क्या गारंटी? दूसरा,
why you need to give power to Dharma guru?
चलो मत करो ना, आप कह रहे हो कि जो कैपिटलिस्ट है वो खुद से दिमाग क्यों नहीं लगा देता?
नहीं. I'm saying कि man factor of production, just that a kid is born, the kind of education that you are giving in a gurukul under a leadership of a dharma guru. Now, let me just give you a few examples, practical examples. Now, a kid who's going to a mandir, मंदिर में चढ़ावा होता है भगवान को, राइस होता है, फूड होता है, फ्लावर है. Now that kid, when he's going to chant mantra before eating food, he's not going to waste the food. Right? These are practical examples I'm giving you. These guys are not going to waste water. So there is a preservation automatically coming in. Now, if you are going to give education within around surrounding nature, that is how gurukuls used to be, skills-based model. Now, these kids, when they grow up, even as businessmen, they are not going to exploit nature to an extent where हाँ सारे फॉरेस्ट गिरा दो मेरे को प्रॉफिट हो रहा है तो. They will not go to that extent. I can guarantee you. They may not go
to that extent. That is probably not the part which is troublesome. I think problem उससे पहले आ जाती है, which is कि suppose एक जंगल है बाहर, हम उसको नहीं गिरा रहे, आप और मैं, हम दोनों एथिकल कैपिटलिस्ट हैं, हम दोनों ने गुरुकुल में पढ़ाई करी है. पर अगर मैं 4 पेड़ गिरा दूं ना, सिर्फ 1,000 में से तो मैं ज्यादा पैसे बना लूंगा, एंड देन इट बिकम्स अ रेस टू द बॉटम, क्योंकि मैंने 4 गिराया, आप बोलोगे 2 तो मैं भी गिरा सकता हूँ, फिर मैं बोलूंगा इसने 2 गिराए साले ने, मैं 5 गिरा देता हूँ.
That is not how Gurukul kids are raised.
So are you saying
This is a template which comes from Western classroom.
no? I think it comes from human selfishness.
No.
I think that is so innate to humans.
I think that can be worked on with.
And you can do this magic on 1.5 billion people where they can be without corruption in their heart.
Certainly.
आप कह रहे हो
I'm not saying everybody is going to become Bhagwan Ram kind of very clean and that.
And we should not
I'm
make
not
the mistake
saying-
of thinking
I'm
that.
not- no,
Yeah, huh, definitely.
It's a stupid idea to think that people are going to everybody is going to raise to that intellectual level. But I am saying the current format that we have is totally going in the opposite direction, which is why we are here with, because there was a lot of this thing coming in where people say, oh, wo to Brahmin hai, ye domination, this, that. Now the same Brahmin who used to be Ved, used to charge minimal and do the stuff. The private hospitals today, they just keep dead bodies for 5-6 days and make bills, right? So while you might say that free capitalism gave you that kind of technology for this thing,
agreed,
but the manufacturer production is not being worked at all.
I think there is a very real argument in what you're saying कि जो ये free market capitalism है, sometimes क्या,
I'm not saying
more often
work
than not.
on material factor of production, work on machine factor of production, fine. But the work on man factor of production is missing, totally missing.
And is that not an internal contradiction with the fact that the NRIs are doing well because they have man factor of production?
No, NRIs are doing well because their concept of finance comes from Sanatan Dharmic value. None of the Western classroom taught them that you need to take care of your parents and save for the next generation. None of their Abrahamic circle taught them this.
And so man factor of production is not कि आपको अपनी family का ध्यान रखना है, because that is what you'd said ना, कि man factor of production is कि मेरे को अपने माँ बाप का और अपने बच्चों को ये मेरी life का सेविंग करते हुए मेरे को आगे पास ऑन करना है और पीछे पास ऑन करना है
जी.
ये तो आप और मैं भी फॉलो करते हैं
जी.
तो फिर और क्या आना है इसमें? लाइक व्हाट इज द मिसिंग लिंक स्टिल?
The missing links is that job model को जो empowerment बना है. Let me just explain you how this was formed. So in the 50s, 60s and 70s, you could clearly see a lot of individualism, privacy इसके नाम पे लोगों को बोला गया कि तुम brothers, parents, sisters से अपना rights मांगना शुरू करो. These people got fooled into that.
This was a centralized. ये लोगों के दिमाग में खुद नहीं आया कि मैं बंटवारा ले लूं.
नहीं, it came.
आप ये कह रहे हो कि आदमी को खुद
It
नहीं
came
लगता?
externally.
For real, आपको ये नहीं लगता कि लोगों के मन में आता है कि मैं बंटवारा लेके भाग जाऊं? Selfishness लोगों का innate trait नहीं है.
It was not an innate at least in the Indian society.
So there is no biological selfishness.
There will be, but I don't see this happening because of that. What happened in Bharat, I'll tell you. These were waves which were artificially created, is what I'm saying. Okay. So a lot of these families, they took their rights, which is why the farmers are poor today, by the way. So all of them broke up their agricultural lands. They took their share, came to the cities, handed over this entire family corpus to companies, and they themselves became jobbers. Now, there's a huge role of single country reserve currency format into enabling this kind of conduct.
पर मतलब अंकित जी, are we not making this mistake जहां हम कह रहे हैं हम तो देखो जी भोले बच्चे हैं और बाहर से आके हमें लोग
नहीं, भोले बच्चे कोई नहीं होता है.
हाँ, वही तो मैं कह रहा हूँ कि आदमी खुद से लड़ाई करने उतरता है अपने भाई से. उसको मैं किसी के 2 भाइयों के बीच में मैं लड़ाई नहीं करा सकता. वो भाई की सेल्फिशनेस ही दूसरे भाई पे पलटा.
इनपुट्स आ रहा था ना, इनपुट्स आ रहा था. दैट इज व्हाट आई एम सेइंग. If there were no, just for example, let me tell you, if in those eras we were able to produce this kind of technology and philosophy and that kind of literature, math, science, thought process.
In which era?
Imagine before the invasions.
ठीक, हाँ.
If invasions would not have happened, maybe we would have been today this kind of technology minus the corruption.
हाँ.
At least 60-70%.
If we were able to produce that kind of technology, why were we not able to withstand the invasion?
Which is, I have explained that we went into a autonomous Janapada structure where we did.
Sure.
We just diluted the centralized defense.
Sure. So like
which is why this is something that is good for the current governance structure that we have a centralized defense.
Okay, ठीक है. I think we've understood Sanatan economics quite a bit, and in fact मेरे को काफी कुछ समझ में आने लगा. मैं एक बार समराइज करता हूँ, बताना मेरे को समझ आएगी. ठीक है. Sanatan economics is this idea that हमें material mode of production से man mode of production के बारे में सोचना चाहिए, from a consumptionist lifestyle to a saving lifestyle, which to some extent you admit already happens. कुछ तो डिग्री तक ये हो ही रहा है.
Savings.
हाँ, savings वाले उस सेंस में.
We do have comparatively much better than
the West.
Maybe tier 1 cities not, but
हाँ,
others.
I think नहीं, मतलब हम ये अहमदाबाद tier 1 है?
No.
Ahmedabad is not tier 1. So you're saying Delhi, Bangalore, Bombay में
Pune,
सब more or less
Chennai.
बेकार लोग बैठे हुए हैं जो अपने नहीं, I mean jokingly, मैं मजाक ही कर रहा हूँ. हाँ.
They are influenced with the Western template.
Yeah.
You can
Agree.
say so.
हाँ, मतलब I come from Faridabad, which is right next to South Delhi, so the difference is very apparent. I can tell that. ठीक है. And इस process में होगा क्या, that this will sort of lend itself to a community building format. और इसको enforce करने के लिए शायद हमें policy और law भी नहीं चाहिए, हमें एक गुरुकुल schooling system चाहिए.
That is one of the primary. Some of the policies will be required, which I see a lot of thought process going parallel with what Sanjeev ji speaks.
Right.
So when I saw this interim budget where Nirmala ji said how much was the amount, 1 lakh crore corpus at low or zero rate of interest, right? This is something which is in that direction, because understand when we move to a multi-currency world order, this kind of a job model as a priority of the education
System.
outcome will not be possible.
Who will work jobs then? Who will work jobs?
I don't think everybody can become entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So there will be jobs will be available. I mean, jobbers will be available.
You don't think?
But what I'm trying to say is that eventually the society has to start giving entrepreneurship as a priority outcome of the education format, where there could be many policy tweaks that can be done. Say, for example, those businessmen who are making profits, employing people, why would you call them illiterate?
Hey, who's calling who? And
They don't have degrees.
कौन? Businessmen. हाँ, ठीक है, नहीं होती, but they make.
No, but that's not the problem. You're not getting the point here. I am saying when a kid goes with a business idea to the parent says, पहले तो डिग्री ले ले.
ठीक है.
Right.
पर ये तो कुल धर्म का प्रॉब्लम हो गया.
इसका सॉल्यूशन पॉलिसी में दो.
हाँ.
कि the governance need to ensure कि भाई जो businessman is already making profits, employing people, उसके वेन्यू पे जाके तुम एसेस करो स्किल्स और तुम दे दो ना सर्टिफिकेट.
तो मतलब ताकि पेरेंट्स उसको इलिटरेट ना बोले, गवर्नमेंट एक इंटरवेंशन प्लान करे कि जाओ उसके धंधे पे.
Because this is a western template which we are following, we have to reverse it back.
तो हम ये कह रहे पेरेंट्स इतने बेवकूफ हैं कि वो वेस्ट से बोरो करके और
पेरेंट्स
अपने बच्चों
बेवकूफ
पे
नहीं है. पेरेंट्स ने अपनी सेविंग स्टॉक मार्केट में जॉब्स क्रिएट करने में लगा दी है, बच्चों को सीड फंडिंग देने की जगह.
तो आपने लिटरली वही बात बोली कि पेरेंट्स बेवकूफ हैं अभी.
नहीं, आई एम सेइंग दे आर फॉलोइंग द वेस्टर्न टेम्पलेट, वी नीड टू रिवर्स इट.
तो पेरेंट्स में इतना दिमाग नहीं है कि उन्हें वेस्टर्न टेम्पलेट
क्या करेंगे वो? यू टेल मी.
तो फिर वही तो आप कह रहे हो पेरेंट्स बेवकूफ हैं.
This is not how.
आप क्या बात कर रहे हो? See, I'm very worried, Ankit ji. I'm very worried. There is so many internal contradictions in what you say.
No. These are the realities which the parents have to face. अगर आप कर देते हो पॉलिसी में ये चेंज कि जो एंटरप्रेन्योर बिजनेसमैन प्रॉफिट बना रहा है, एम्प्लॉइज रखता है, उसकी जगह पे जाके हम उसके स्किल सेट एसेस करके उसको सर्टिफिकेट देंगे. तो आज बहुत सारे पेरेंट्स हैं जो अलाउ करेंगे बच्चों को कि यू कैन ट्राई योर बिजनेस आइडिया.
और इसको हम लोग इस लेवल पे नहीं कह सकते कि बच्चों को बोलो थोड़ी लड़ाई कर लो, अपने पेरेंट्स से समझ जाएंगे जब पैसे बनाने लगोगे तुम.
Why would you want to? But why do you want to continue with the Western template, which clearly does not work for their own economy?
No. Where is
anymore?
This?
They have lost their birth rates. They don't have savings. Their currency is about to
but
get into trouble.
Richer. They are also
They are
much
not
more
richer. No, you have a problem.
You were in Israel recently.
Yes.
Have you seen the roads?
I've seen the roads.
Have you seen the fact that water is free? Nobody is losing their hair because water is contaminated.
Maybe.
Yeah. Have you seen that there is no slums?
This comes as an outcome of first gathering the economic wealth.
No, Israel gathered no economic wealth.
No, but they are allies of the US, right? Most of the allies' currencies are isotopes of the US dollar, which is why they are allies. Otherwise, they won't be allies. Let me tell you very clearly this thing. 500 years it's been, and the West still does not know how to make money. They still don't know.
But the reality dictates something quite opposite, no?
No. The reality you'll come to know after 2030 very soon.
So
Don't
like
worry.
6 years में things will change. Let's come to the
Things
prediction
have
wala
already
point.
started changing.
Let's come to the prediction wala point because and this is my honest assessment. I hope you will not mind this. I think there is too many holes in the Sanatan economics concept for me to completely buy that and
No,
say
that doesn't need to be holes, because this is just a basic thought process which will, I believe, after me there will be hundreds, thousands of people who will
And I'm
add
worried.
much more to it.
And I'm worried for that because hundreds and thousands of people believing this
Will
at face
add
value.
more things to it.
Hopefully that I can
Because
come
I
with.
understand that people will have to dig out what exactly that
The
system
solutions
was.
will be. And
no,
all for
the
that.
system of ancient Bharat was. We are disconnected with that. We just have trickles of memories.
Agreed.
So mine is just a base thought process.
Lovely.
100,000 people will dig
Lovely.
more.
As long as we are self-aware to that extent, I am with you. I am behind you and I will voice for the fact कि हाँ फिर तो अगर हम अभी ये मानते हैं कि हमें इसको और ढंग से समझ के रिसर्च करके
बहुत.
फिर मैं
This is
ठीक हूँ.
even this is just a
This is the
seed
beginning.
thought process.
This is beginning. तो मैं ठीक हूँ. तो मैं I can vibe with you on that level. Otherwise, my reservation is because we are going through a renaissance, the risk is always जो हुआ था याद भी नहीं पर उसका नशा हो जाए और फ्यूचर में वो लगाने की कोशिश करने लगे.
नहीं, जो अभी चल रहा है वो तो कोलैप्स दिख रहा है.
हाँ, अब हम प्रेडिक्शन पे आते हैं और
बहुत
हम
ही
कोलैप्स
क्लियर
की
दिख रहा
बात
है.
करते हैं.
हाँ,
बट
तो ऐसा नहीं है कि people are not aware.
राइट,
People are aware that this is not working.
व्हाट इज नॉट वर्किंग.
The Western template.
नहीं, वेस्टर्न की नहीं, मैं आई वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट द इंडियन धार्मिक टेम्पलेट. मैं
हाँ.
ये कह रहा था कि ऐसा ना हो.
वो तो हम गए ही नहीं है अभी. We haven't gone into it. अभी तो खाली हमारे पास, as I said, just trickle of memories कि सेविंग्स करनी है. अच्छा, मंदिर में पैसे देने हैं, पर वहाँ मंदिर से गुरुकुल चलता था वो तो पता ही नहीं है. We are still paying private school fees which are going into Christian conversion.
प्राइवेट स्कूल फीस क्रिश्चियन कन्वर्जन में कैसे जा रही है?
जा ही नहीं.
मतलब
एनुअल
अगर
रिपोर्ट
mission-
निकाल के देख लो, क्लियर लिख रहे हैं वो.
तो मतलब
Not even Christian missionary schools. The general schools are diverting into.
तो फिर ऐसा कैसे है कि हम सब इतने बेवकूफ हैं और कुछ ही लोगों को सच दिख रहा है? मैं जेन्युइनली पूछना चाहता हूँ कि अगर इतना ही बड़ा मिशनरी प्रोपेगेंडा एग्जिस्ट कर रहा है, हम सब प्राइवेट स्कूल
दिख रहा है, सबको दिख रहा है. ऐसा नहीं है,
फिर
नहीं
क्यों
पता
नहीं
है.
एक्ट करते लोग?
They think it's fashion to be secular.
I really don't think it's the case anymore. Like maybe
No,
5
because
years
Hindus
ago.
are not. Let me tell you, Hindus never had political awareness because, as I said, it is an autopilot society.
So there are bad
उनको फर्क ही
mistakes.
नहीं पड़ता था कि ऊपर दिल्ली में कौन बैठा है. Right, because it was autopilot. जो भी situation है, we'll manage. जो भी situation है, we'll
So
manage.
there are risks with autopilot then.
There are certain risks. दिख ही रहा है.
Existential risks.
दिख ही रहा है आपको.
हाँ,
बंगाल
हाँ.
में नहीं दिख रहा है आपको.
तो फिर अब आप-
केरला में दिख रहा है, बंगाल में दिख रहा है, कश्मीर
तो
में
फिर
दिख रहा है.
हम ऑटो पायलट मोड में हमेशा नहीं चल सकते.
नहीं, ऑटो पायलट एट द सोसाइटी लेवल यू कैन बी, लेकिन पॉलिसी भी तो मैच करना चाहिए ऊपर से.
तो फिर सेंट्रलाइजेशन तो कमांडमेंट हो गई.
अंडरस्टैंड, पॉलिसी जो गवर्नेंस का स्ट्रक्चर है ये भी तो वेस्टर्न टेम्पलेट है. दिस डिडंट कम फ्रॉम एंशिएंट भारत. द फॉर्मेट दैट वी हैव टुडे.
ओके,
अंडरस्टैंड द इलेक्शन फॉर्म. अच्छा, इलेक्शन फॉर्मेट का थॉट प्रोसेस पता है आपको क्या है?
या तो डेमोक्रेटिक इंडियन रूट्स
इट्स अ
हैं या
क्रिश्चियन मिशनरी थॉट प्रोसेस. तुम्हारे लाइफ में बहुत प्रॉब्लम है, मैं सॉल्व करके दूंगा. दैट्स अ क्रिश्चियन मिशनरी फॉर्मेट.
The Greeks were doing it way before Christianity was invented.
Still I'm saying the current format, which is that we are going to create more problems for you and we are going to give solutions. That is what is this format is.
Explain.
And we need to come out of this, which can happen. ऐसा नहीं है कि नहीं हो सकता है. It can happen.
See, I think आप एक तरफ कह रहे हो policy will come and help, which is again centralization. Centralization
No,
means
no,
commandment.
it's not centralization.
I think the difference between the two models is decentralization and centralization.
No, that's not the case. The difference between the two models is at multiple layers, not just one.
At least
It's
on the
not
political.
as simple as you are saying. Okay, so say right now if the government is giving, as I said, for entrepreneurship or startup incubation for the kids, as I said, साथ में parallel education format में भी ये change चाहिएगा, right? It's at multiple layers.
ठीक
It's
है.
not commandments, but at multiple layers.
Let's talk about predictions. And this is so fascinating because मैं आपका बायो पढ़ रहा था ट्विटर पे भी और एक बायो मेरे पास आपका वैसे भी है. एंड मैं इसको एक बार रीड आउट भी कर देता हूँ बिकॉज पीपल शुड नो. ट्विटर पे तो आपने 3 ही 4 चीज़ें लिखी हुई हैं बट इट इज़ माइंड बॉगलिंग टू मी. सो you have successfully predicted, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 things, which include 370, 35A removal, Doklam issue, LAC standoff, Balakot strikes, Pakistan response, Russia-Ukraine conflict, China-Taiwan conflict, Adani FPO, de-dollarization, banking and currency, and IT sector collapse with de-dollarization. And then when we were speaking, पहले भी आपने बताया कि और 5-7 चीजें that you are predicting that people will not take you seriously for, but they will see how the world
at
changes.
least they are seeing the signals, like as 2 years back when I said UAE will be the first Hindu country, Saudi will be a Jewish majority, and Iran will be a Christian majority.
How are they any of these majority demographically speaking?
What's your question?
My question is, how is Saudi you said Saudi is going to be a Jewish majority? The population of Saudi is still fairly Muslim, no? Demographically. तो किस sense में Jewish majority है ये?
Because that's what their immediate ancient linkage was.
नहीं, but Jewish majority अभी होगा कि हो गया है?
नहीं होगा.
अच्छा होगा.
It's a prediction.
अच्छा, it's a prediction that.
But UAE का तो अब people they feel that the signals are there now. 2 years back they were laughing.
So tell me, if like you make all these predictions, do you also parallelly bet on the stock market, because you could make so much money doing this?
I don't do this short term trading kind of thing. But for long term I do.
But like ये तो अगर आपको पता है, for instance, you say Pakistan response to Balakot airstrikes morning itself, you could have made millions that day.
So at least I mean for the gold stuff a lot of benefit was made. I mean,
sure.
Even my clients, because see I started watching Ukraine thing happening, in the sense I could sense it mid of 2021 where the investment started being diverted to non-dollar from the Russian this thing. By November I had predicted that it's coming.
And November में start हुआ?
हाँ नहीं February.
अच्छा February, अच्छा ठीक है 4 months later.
हाँ तो November I had predicted, और October November के आसपास जितने भी clients थे, I think the gold rate was something 47,000.
अब हम पैसे की बात कर रहे हैं भाई.
So I told the European client teams that बाद में ब्रेकफास्ट का भी प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा, आपको अभी गोल्ड ले लो. So
the gold's risen since then. But again, like individually speaking,
you can clearly make out. जैसे अदानी FPO का मैंने FPO अटैक हुआ. अच्छा मैंने 24th Jan को प्रेडिक्ट किया था
कि कटर्स ने स्टेक लिया हुआ है क्रेडिट स्विस में. हाँ.
तो दैट आई प्रेडिक्टेड, और जब जिस दिन FPO अटैक हुआ था मैंने उसी दिन आई थिंक संजय जी के साथ शो पे मैंने बोला था 1100 क्रॉस कर जाएगा दिसंबर में क्रॉस कर गया स्टॉक. तो 450 हो चुका था वो उस दिन.
नहीं, एंड सो इज देयर अ डिनोमिनेटर, लाइक इज देयर, आपने 500 प्रेडिक्शंस करी हैं और उसमें से 450 सच हुई हैं, लाइक या
आई हैव नॉट काउंटेड, बट
what would you say is your success rate?
99 point something.
But that would make you a millionaire. What are you doing with me यहाँ पे बैठ के? आप ट्रेडिंग करो, मेरे को करवाओ, हम दोनों काम छोड़ते हैं, हम दोनों मजे करते हैं.
I started getting those kind of offers.
Really?
Those kind of offers have come, but I'm not that, you might have already sensed, I'm not that much materialistic.
No, make that money and donate it to me. I will put it to schools. I will give it to everybody around me. I will keep only 2%. I promise. Full ethical, full Sanatani economics करूँगा मैं. But I mean this very really, because पता है क्या है? I'll tell you, there is a branding trouble you'll run into. I'm telling this to you as a friend.
Branding?
Trouble. देखो, क्योंकि देखो आप.
Branding about what?
I'll tell you. At the end of the day, आप एक लेवल पे सब्सटेंस पे गेम खेल रहे हो. सब्सटेंसेस की मैं ये हूं और मैं ये करता हूं. एक लेवल पे आप मीडिया में भी हो. हाँ, आप एक मीडिया में भी हो. मीडिया में क्या है, जब आप अपने प्रिडिक्शन या अपने ऑनर को या जो आप अच्छा करते हो उसको अपने सामने लेके चलोगे ना, पीपल विल फाइंड अ वेरी इजी टारगेट टू निगेट ऑल योर हार्ड वर्क विद. Eventually, something will go wrong, something will come out, and people will take you and they will go
I'm
all
fine
at
with
you.
it.
You are okay with that?
I'm
Because
totally
that is going to negate all the hard work you're
doing.
doing.
Understand?
Media level पे.
No. See, I'll tell you what. Personally, I'm not, as I said, not a materialistic kind of a person, right? I'm very conservative. In fact, I don't even like too much of attention. So, and I can tell you, here in Ahmedabad itself, 2017, because I used to take academic sessions. So, there was so much of popularity कि मैं बाहर ही नहीं निकल सकता. Then I just stopped everything. तो academic sessions तो बंद मैंने almost कर दिए.
अच्छा.
2017 के बाद.
Right.
Because कहीं पे आप नाश्ता करने भी नहीं जा सकते. People will immediately flock up to you. तो इतना हो गया था.
Oh shit.
I don't like it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So and as long as this media thing is, social media is good क्योंकि उसमें distance है.
दूर है, हाँ. मैं घर से ही तो बोल रहा हूँ. हाँ, हाँ.
Oh, that is very good actually.
हाँ.
And I'm okay अगर कोई prediction wrong होता है उसमें कौन सी बड़ी बात है? Because suppose जैसे मैंने ये दिया है $1 ₹3 2029, which obviously people are laughing.
Right.
But मेरा base thought process ये है कि the fiat currency system cannot go on.
Right. Which we agree.
With that assumption, I'm saying this.
Can you
now
explain to people जिनको fiat नहीं समझ आता?
Fiat currency means totally printed out of thin air.
Right.
तो 15th August 1971 तक जब तक प्रेसिडेंट निक्सन ने ये किया नहीं गोल्ड कन्वर्टिबिलिटी बैन, तब तक any currency that you need to print would represent some amount of gold and reserves. Right? तो वो बंद हो गया. So now you can print as much as you want.
Right.
Totally.
Which is basically exporting inflation.
हाँ,
है ना?
हाँ.
उसने डॉलर प्रिंट कर दिया, हमारी इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ गई फालतू में. हाँ.
तो हमने भी हमारी करेंसी वही रखी ना, फियाट.
हाँ.
तो अभी भी सारी करेंसीज फियाट है.
Right.
तो my basic assumption is that we are moving out of the fiat currency world.
And we'll go back to the gold.
Well, gold certainly should be one element because that is what the real currency is. That is what is Sanatan.
And Bitcoin?
Right? Bitcoin, they are trying to use temporary, ये भी मैंने prediction दे दिया था कि ये करेंगे.
हाँ.
जो ETF approve किया गया.
अच्छा.
Because I don't know if they don't have the gold, that's why they did it, or they don't want to give gold to the public, that's why they did it. But they did it so that they know when the crisis comes, people will rush for gold in the West, and since they don't want to give it, they approved the Bitcoin ETF, and it's not going to stay for long.
The Bitcoin ETF. And it'll go back to gold then.
It will go back after the reset.
What is the reset?
Reset in the sense the currency reset.
Oh, the currency reset. Which has begun. You can see that
which
dollar
is
is
CBDC.
losing.
So they're going to impose CBDC.
Which is?
Central bank digital currency, digital dollar.
Okay.
Okay. So with the crisis, they'll come up with this CBDC and then cut out this Bitcoin thing.
Okay. हाँ कि वो
Till
अपना
then,
अपना ही घुसा देंगे बीच
till
में.
then,
हाँ.
it will go up.
Right.
Right. Because
ठीक
they're
है.
using Bitcoin as a middle
Tester.
path.
हाँ.
Middle path until they do the reset.
And they will manufacture the reset?
Looks like. Because every sequence you can see what's going on.
Tell me about these sequences. I want to understand how can somebody learn the art of prediction from you.
Predictions?
जैसे मतलब if you are आपका जो range of prediction है goes everywhere from Balakot, which is a geopolitical issue, all the way to Adani FPO, which is a financial market issue. It's broad, right?
Geoeconomics and geopolitics. Because I believe a lot नहीं पूरा ही बोल सकते हैं कि geoeconomics defines geopolitics. Geopolitics तो बच्चा ही नहीं है. Geoeconomics dominates
Geopolitics. ठीक है. तो इस पूरे process में what are these steps that you notice that nobody else is able to? क्योंकि ये बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग बात
ये
है.
तो पता नहीं others were able to or not, ये तो मुझे नहीं पता.
Prakhar cannot. Prakhar is an idiot. Prakhar cannot teach Prakhar.
हाँ.
What are you looking at?
Which instance? I can give you an example.
What are you looking at today that is telling you something about the future? Let's say that the price of dollar getting to 3 exact by 2029 exact. ये दोनों चीजें exactant कैसे आ रही हैं? हाँ.
So one is that multiple factors. I read human body language as well, but since you are talking about this particular, so in the fiat world started in 1971. Okay. 1973 we had the petrodollar. Okay. Kissinger goes and signs the oil for security and entire crude oil to be sold in dollar.
Right.
So 1973 के आसपास it was 7 rupees. Okay. And looking at the kind of working population size that we have today, what productivity that it can generate is how I calculated that it should be 3 rupees.
Again, why not
I mean, with
4?
the assumption that the fiat world is closing.
Right. And it looks like that is an assumption I can go by for the sake of the argument अभी. But why not 18?
नहीं कोई नहीं मान रहा है वो.
अच्छा.
People are saying कि ऐसे कैसे gold standard हो जाएगा.
ठीक है, चलो उन लोगों को भी हम साइड रखते हैं. उस पर हम आर्ग्यूमेंट क्या ही करें, वो तो कोई और देख रहे हैं, बड़े लोग. पर मैं कह रहा हूँ 14 क्यों नहीं, और 9.5 क्यों नहीं, और 3 क्यों, और 2029 एग्जैक्ट क्यों?
Multiple questions. So
कोई भी एक. Anyone, we can begin with anyone. I'm having fun.
So this is my calculation about the the size of the birth rates which the US economy has, the productivity it has lost because of destruction of family unit, and it does have a lot of natural resources. Okay,
All the oil is just sitting there ना अभी फ्रैक होने के लिए wait कर
नेचुरल
रहा है।
रिसोर्सेस है,
हाँ
पूरे वेस्ट के पास है, बिकॉज करेंसी छापा ही था उन्होंने, दूसरों का ही यूज किया।
सही सही ठीक ठीक
हाँ।
हाँ।
तो लुकिंग एट दैट 1:3 is what it looks like to me.
What about the technological leverage that they are building?
I think 2030 के बाद सारा डी प्लेटफॉर्म हो जाएगा वेस्ट का।
आप कह रहे हो कि द फैक्ट दैट, चलो मैं समझ रहा हूँ कि दे आर डेमोग्राफिकली लूजिंग, बट 7 years में वो डेमोग्राफिक शिफ्ट तो दिखेगा भी नहीं।
I'm saying tech,
6 years में।
tech will be completely deplatformed is what I'm saying.
What do you mean deplatform? Like टेक होगा ही नहीं?
Western tech नहीं होगा।
वेस्टर्न टेक यानी यूट्यूब, गूगल नहीं होगा, फिर इंडियन ऑल्टरनेटिव्स होंगे। चिंगारी, भाई चिंगारी के स्टॉक खरीदो। ये मौका है। क्यों नहीं होगा?
आज सुबह ही इलॉन मस्क का आपने ट्वीट देखा होगा? नहीं देखा।
मैं ट्विटर में अपना दिमाग खराब
इंडियन
कर लेता हूँ।
गवर्नमेंट पे ट्वीट किया है उन्होंने
हाँ, क्या बोला?
कि फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच इज एट क्वेश्चन, हमको बोला गया, हमको करने पड़ रहे हैं डीएक्टिवेट अकाउंट। सी दिस कैन नॉट वर्क एनी मोर, आई एम टेलिंग यू। 2030 इज द लास्ट, उसके बाद ब्रिक्स प्लस विल नॉट अलाउ एनी ऑफ द वेस्टर्न टेक।
Because BRICS Plus will get more strong.
No, because there are clear cases of interference in the governance of the countries.
But at that point, are we not like at the edge?
And
of-
who is he to decide freedom of speech?
Sure.
In Bharat, we have our own restrictions to freedom of speech, reasonable restrictions,
Some of them are not okay also, no? Yes, all of them are okay to you.
but certainly not Elon Musk to decide.
Sure. I mean, there's Elon Musk. But what is said on a platform, यहाँ पे debate platform publisher वाली आ
TikTok
जाती
इसी
है।
वजह से तो बैन किया गया ना, because see, you are collecting profiles of the entire population. One fine day you'll put up some information, mobs can go crazy. You can't allow, I mean, bypassing the leadership of the enemy and directly talking to the enemy's population is a lethal weapon of war.
So you are saying by 2030 we will see that हमारा तो करियर खत्म ही है फिर, क्योंकि हम YouTube पे करियर बना रहे हैं, but like you think like,
But why don't you think YouTube will become Indian?
you think YouTube will shift its base from California to India?
Why not?
Well,
What's
for
new
one,
about
law
it?
and order. Second,
In fact, every
taxation.
single meeting with the Prime Minister, I can clearly see it,
हाँ,
that the Indian business head goes along. After the meeting, they shut down the Western offices and announce layoffs and open business plans in India.
well, I think the insincerity
So
of
those who would like to tap into this market, the consumption market, which Bharat is, has two options. They have to eventually become Indian or they're out.
Do you really think we'll have that much leverage?
It's not about leverage.
Well, it is.
Ultimately, the policy have to be that you're not going to risk your national security for profits of some outsider company.
Okay, is there a prediction you have which is more shorthand? Because 5 साल में कोई याद नहीं रखेगा इसको. Is there something like आप जो 2 महीने में कोई सुन रहा हो और बोल सके कि ये वेरीफाइबल है कि नहीं?
You want some recent?
Because I'll tell you why. ठीक है?
Students का मैंने दिया था सितंबर में, 4 मर गए.
Farmers protest.
Indian students जो US गए थे.
हाँ, but see, I'll tell you what. एक और event है which is very famous for predicting things to probably the same accuracy, some might say, which is the Simpsons, the television show. And the reason, आपने देखा है, सुना है कभी इसके बारे में, Simpsons prediction है ना?
कुछ pics.
हाँ, and the reason why, तो Simpsons के जो creators है, they were asked about it, and they said, देखो ऐसा हमारा sample size का game है, हम रोज एक episode बनाते हैं और हम बहुत पढ़ते हैं, we collect a lot of this sort of information that we get. रोज एपिसोड बनाने में, उसमें 28 गिग हर एपिसोड में डालने में, 28 गिग ओवर एवरी डे, फ्रॉम रीडिंग ऑल ऑफ दिस वी विल गेट राइट सम स्टफ समटाइम्स दैट विल शॉक पीपल. नाउ व्हाई आई एम सेइंग दिस इज, यू से अच्छा 2029 तक 1 का 3 है, एंड सपोज वो नहीं होता तो देयर इज नो वेरिफिकेशन.
नहीं होता है तो वो assumption wrong हुआ होगा ना कि fiat system नहीं close हुआ होगा.
हाँ, but like there is something here about predicted that morning. मतलब अगर हम एक मॉर्निंग में प्रिडिक्शन डाल रहे हैं या हम 10 दिन पहले डाल रहे हैं, तो इट इज ऑलमोस्ट अ 50% प्रिडिक्शन ना, कि या तो ये होगा या नहीं होगा. एंड इन दैट
Clear
केस,
पता चलेगा. हाँ.
हाँ, तो इन दैट केस
Because you have to
a coin toss is as good as you.
see that was Pakistan's response to Balakot.
Right.
So you know the body language of the army, the leaders, and what could be the response?
But my point is exactly that. Now, then a coin is as good as you, because अगर पाकिस्तान या तो अटैक करेगा या नहीं करेगा, if I'm only predicting that, then I might as well toss a coin and bet on one side.
No, I hadn't predicted अटैक करेगा कि नहीं करेगा.
हाँ, और पाकिस्तान responds to airstrikes.
उसमें मैंने ये लिखा था कि first there will be a denial and then there will be a small action at the LOC.
How is that not
So
different?
first there was a denial. कि नहीं कुछ पेड़ गिरे हैं एंड देन नेक्स्ट डे दे डिड अ स्मॉल एक्शन.
हाउ इज दैट नॉट डिफरेंट फ्रॉम द वे कोई जो झूठा आदमी होता है ना, जो कोल्ड रीडिंग करते हैं, मैजिशियंस करते हैं, झूठा
जादू.
हाँ, मतलब जादू भी नहीं, मैं कह रहा हूँ कोल्ड रीडिंग करना. एक आदमी को देख के आप टू सम एक्सटेंट उसकी बॉडी लैंग्वेज से उसके फादर के साथ क्या इश्यूज रहे हूँ. आई डू दिस विद अ बंच ऑफ पीपल हु कम एंड मीट मी. और फॉर दैट मैटर जो ढोंगी होते हैं बिल्कुल मार्केट में, जो आपका फ्यूचर बता देते हैं, पास्ट बता देते हैं, क्योंकि वो भी क्या कर रहे हैं, देयर यूज या एस्ट्रोलॉजी फॉर दैट मैटर ना. एस्ट्रोलॉजी भी तो रफली
मुझे तो सब बोल रहे हैं पर मुझे आता नहीं, पता नहीं.
हाँ, तो वो भी तो जनरलाइज्ड.
बी सम साइंस.
वेल, देयर इज जनरलाइज्ड गेसिंग, और आप यू विल फॉलो ऑन आइदर साइड एंड यू विल रिमेंबर द टाइम्स इट वाज राइट, एंड बिकॉज यू विल रिमेंबर दैट यू आर मच मोर लाइकली टू बिलीव इट इन द फ्यूचर. ऐसा चलता है.
आई डोंट थिंक कि इतना रैंडम है, बिकॉज द प्रिसिशन इज अनबिलीवेबल. मतलब
आपको कभी भी लगता है आप भगवान हो? कभी कभी तो लगता होगा यार. 99%
क्यों ऐसा लगेगा? भगवान का तो पता नहीं, पर मैसेजेस आए थे.
अच्छा,
मैसेजेस इस बात के आए थे कि वो मूर्ति का फेस मेरे जैसे, मतलब बेसिकली दे आर टेलिंग मी फैट.
हाँ,
ओके.
हाँ, टेल मी.
वो कोई कॉम्प्लीमेंट नहीं था.
नहीं,
ओके.
वो टेल मी अबाउट दिस इज सो इंटरेस्टिंग. हाँ, टेल मी अबाउट दिस. हाँ,
भगवान राम का जो फेस है ना मूर्ति का, दैट फेस मैचेस विथ माइंड. ओके, ऐसा 7-8 कमेंट आया.
अच्छा,
तो दे बेसिकली कॉलिंग मी फैट.
they are also doing the same mistake with भगवान राम at that point.
क्योंकि वो उनका तो चाइल्डहुड वाला मूर्ति है.
That is ये एक बहुत ही क्रेजी सुपर स्किल है आपके पास then, this prediction thing that is happening for you.
बट
Why doesn't the government
हो
recruit you?
सकता है ना, कभी तो गलत होगा.
हाँ, but why doesn't
आई एम ऑल्सो वेटिंग.
अब समझ में आया एंगल, अब पता लगा
कुछ तो गलत हो जाए.
अच्छा, नहीं, but again, why does the government or like intelligences not recruit somebody whose predictions are so spot on? I'm genuinely curious.
मैंने किसी को रीच आउट नहीं किया अभी तक.
उनका क्यों नहीं आया? Are they not taking note?
पता नहीं.
Will they?
I don't know. But I know that I can be very helpful for the nation. इतना मुझे पता है.
In what ways?
जैसे LAC स्टैंड ऑफ मैंने 20 दिन पहले बता दिया था.
And what were you reading back then?
Well, my understanding was that एक तो वो कोविड वाला पीरियड था, which I believe that CCP had a role.
100%.
ठीक है.
मैं तो 100% आपके साथ हूँ.
हाँ,
हाँ.
तो lot of the governments were going weak worldwide.
बिल्कुल, ये भी मैं मानता हूँ. सेलिब्रिटी क्लास पूरी.
सो भारत वाज द ओनली वन. उसमें मैंने क्लियर उस पोस्ट पे लिखा था कि इंडिया इज द लास्ट मैन स्टैंडिंग.
आई कैन सी दैट आल्सो.
राइट.
One of the last few, if not the last, the strongest of the last, if not the last.
One.
हाँ.
That time.
Yeah.
है ना?
Right.
उसी बेस पे मैंने लिखा था that it's coming. और उसी टाइम पे उनका रशिया चाइना का एक्सरसाइज शुरू हो गया था. बाउंड्री पे नहीं, थोड़ा ऊपर की साइड, बट based on that I said.
So what do you think, is there a war coming between India China?
No.
Not at all.
War, जब आप war शब्द का इस्तेमाल करते हो, because बहुत डाइल्यूट होके इस्तेमाल होता है ये war.
सही बात है.
So is it are you saying full spectrum war, all theaters?
नहीं, मैं ये कह रहा हूँ, मैं जवान आदमी हूँ, मेरे को जीवन में जीना है, अपने बच्चों को पालना है, तो क्या कोई रिस्क है इंडिया में एक्जिस्टेंशियल जहाँ पे न्यूक व्यूक्स का? नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं हो रहा. There is no scope for that.
This is a propaganda to sell Western weapons.
अच्छा, तो चाइना और इंडिया
कॉन्फ्लिक्ट टसल तो चलता रहेगा.
हाँ,
वो तो मैंने बोला भी है कि भारत चाइना रिलेशंस पीक पे तभी होगा जब जम के आप कुटाई करोगे
एक दूसरे की.
हाँ, तो चीखें निकलनी चाहिए वहां से.
तो वो
दैट इज द परफेक्ट, दैट्स द बेस्ट रिलेशन दैट यू कैन हैव विद चाइना. मतलब ऑन इन अदर स्फीयर्स. बिकॉज दैट इज हाउ इट वर्क्स.
मतलब हम एक दूसरे को जाके मारें और उससे बेटर होगा सीन.
हाँ,
ये तो बड़ी उल्टी बात नहीं है?
नहीं, उल्टी नहीं है. उनके हिसाब से ऐसा ही है.
उनके किनके?
The Chinese Communist Party.
So the China would appreciate it if we are beating each other up at the borders.
China will appreciate power. It will not appreciate weakness.
So what you are saying is that if India puts a strong foot ahead, then there is going to be an equilibrium.
Then there is going to be negotiation on other spheres of cooperation smoother.
Because militarily we are meeting eye to eye.
Yes.
And so therefore we have the leverage to sort of talk about other things.
That is what they think.
That is what they will think. वरना वो हमको bully करने की कोशिश करते रहेंगे.
करते रहेंगे.
And
if you show weakness,
they will take advantage.
They will bully.
They will bully because they are a bully state.
हाँ.
तो अभी हम लोग कहाँ हैं? Where are we right now in this?
We're in the best position.
Are we bigger or smaller or equal right now?
Equal.
You think so?
Equal, and in terms of diplomacy, way ahead of them.
Yeah, diplomacy, I can see that. But in terms of economic power projection or military power projection?
Economically, they have themselves chosen de-dollarization. So, since both the economies went up the stairs together, US and China, both of them will come down together.
And so फिर रह इंडिया जाएगा, इंडिया रशिया?
India, Russia, Middle East.
और मिडिल ईस्ट में साउदी
Russia will be the richest country. उसमें तो कोई डाउट ही नहीं है.
अच्छा. और अमेरिका का क्या होगा? डूब जाएगा?
Well, वो डुबा रहे, दिख ही रहा है.
सिविलाइजेशनली गलतियां तो कर रहे हैं, ये तो मैं कह सकता हूं.
उनको यही नहीं पता who is the citizen.
ये बात भी बिल्कुल सही है कि उनके इमिग्रेशन पॉलिसी से उल्टा कुछ. हाँ,
कंट्री को क्या हम डिफाइन करेंगे, मतलब उनको ही नहीं पता उनके सिटीजन कौन है. तो
बिल्कुल ही बेवकूफ हो गए हैं उस मामले में. अपने डेमोग्राफिक के साथ जो ये खेलवाड़ कर रहे हैं, बिल्कुल ही बेवकूफ.
It's a clear script going on.
हाँ, tell me about the script.
Chicago, New York, California first in the list, as I had been saying 2 years now. All IT and financial capitals, London, Paris, Berlin, Toronto, Sydney.
And what will happen to them?
They are collapsing. Aren't you seeing?
To some extent I am, yes. Well,
all tech and finance capitals, because tech and finance were the only two things West was having.
Right, and they are collapsing because
of this script.
And the script is written by
the globalists.
The globalists are people like
the same globalist people who जिनको अलग अलग नाम देते हैं. कोई deep state बोलता है.
But put a face and a name.
There are many. 300 बोलते हैं ना.
Give me one example.
Rockefeller बोलते हैं फिर.
So the Rockefeller
people are saying so.
So the Rockefellers, the Davos, जो ये Davos वालों के बारे में बात करते हैं, हाँ ठीक है.
We can't recognize them, but इतना clear है कि these are the same families who aristocrat families who first were in UK. They
moved to America.
When the UK was power, they dumped UK. They shifted to US. Now
they will shift to India or Russia.
They would want to
shift to India or Russia because I mean India, not Russia.
Most probably India, but I mean shifting in the sense not literally they themselves shifting, but
wealth shifting.
A lot of operation shifting for sure.
And so if they are destroying these places, they have an alternative in mind.
Which alternative?
Like अगर ये लोग न्यूयॉर्क, कैलिफोर्निया, शिकागो, पेरिस, बर्लिन, टोक्यो तो खैर वो बचा भी नहीं, मेलबर्न, ये सब डिस्ट्रॉय कर रहे हैं. And they are doing it through mass flooded immigration or demographic shifts. Then they must have thought of where they are going next.
They themselves?
Yeah. And their families and their wealth.
The wealth is certainly coming to Bharat.
Is coming to Bharat. And so then their operations, their wealth, their family securities will also move to Bharat.
Eventually.
Yeah. And these people are then also going to do the same to India at some point?
Well, I do have concerns about the security of our leaders as these people come here. Because you know that when they settled in US, the first one at the target was JFK
in the 60s. And so these individuals who practically are running the world, why are they doing this? Why are they destroying existing places?
They make money out of the reverse script as well. The building script as well, they make money. The reversal also, they make money.
Why do people go along with this script? Why is America or the American leadership incentivized to destroy
As
New
I
York?
said, that free market capitalism got conquered. The governance got conquered by capitalism.
So you were saying that
that is what the problem with the Abrahamic economics. Exactly the problem.
Which is?
That money power takes over governance eventually.
And so you were saying that leadership has become self-centered and they are destroying.
There is no leadership left. I mean, you look at the Western countries, what is the leadership? There is no leadership. These almost look like employees of these guys.
So we don't know who these people are, but we believe they are real. And we think that the people we do see in power are employed by these people somewhat, and that these people are incentivized to destroy जहां पे उनके घर वाले रहते हैं.
पता भी नहीं है कि they are destroying. They are just
पर हमें पता
somebody
है.
is going to give you an election campaign fund.
You are saying डोनाल्ड ट्रंप को नहीं पता और क्लिंटन को नहीं पता, पर हमें पता है. That is very narcissistic, no?
क्या पता?
कि मतलब उनको नहीं पता कि they are
But
contributing.
Clintons themselves part of the same toolkits.
चलो क्लिंटन हटा दो. You take any other name. You are saying that Donald Trump, or for that matter,
Don't
Ted
take
Cruz.
Trump because he's an exception.
Okay, you
anyways.
take Ted Cruz, you take Robert
All of
Kennedy,
them,
you
yes,
take Vivek Ramaswamy, you take anybody who's contesting
Vivek
Nikki
Ramaswamy
Haley.
had predicted that he's going to
Right,
withdraw.
all these fellows, वो तो खैर anybody could see he's not going to win and he will drop. But my point is that all these fellows are okay saying ऐसा करते हैं, अपने घर में आग लगा देते हैं और उनको नहीं पता कि ये हो रहा है. और हम लोग जो
आप मुझे बताओ आज
हाँ.
कल मैंने ट्वीट आज का कल का ट्वीट है.
हाँ
36 स्टेट्स जितने इलीगल्स आए हैं कंट्री में. आप मुझे बताओ कैसे हो रहा है.
Stupidity.
You tell me. No, stupid. This is not stupidity. This is script. It cannot happen with
But we
stupidity.
don't
Let
even
me
know
tell
who
you.
the script makers
No,
are.
no. Whoever the script makers are, if you are telling me that the governors of the state are not aware of this,
no. And
they're stupid.
And I'm all
they
for
are not
conspiracy.
stupid.
I'm all for conspiracy. I genuinely am. I
This is not
genuinely
even a
think.
conspiracy.
हाँ.
It's clearly happening.
Right. I
Okay.
mean, the conspiracy is the logical link that somebody is manufacturing it. हो रहा है is the fact. उसके पीछे का जो लॉजिकल कनेक्ट है वो कंस्पिरेसी है. और मैं कह रहा हूं मैं आपके साथ हूं उस कंस्पिरेसी में कि वो जो
Why would you call it a conspiracy when the leader, when the New York mayor says that I'm to give this many $1,000 to an illegal guy?
Well, I lived in New York and I saw this happen in front of my eyes, so I'm
Why
with
it
you
is
on
a
the fact.
conspiracy? It's clearly visible.
Because if we jump to conclusions,
You want to call New York mayor stupid?
yes,
I wouldn't call him stupid.
you would call him corrupt.
Yeah.
Do not attribute to evil what you could define through human stupidity. Right? Like
This is not stupidity. It cannot happen. Stupidity can
Or
happen in one place, two place, three place.
I'm with you. I agree. This demographic shift is very, very thought out. The fact that Europe is going through this and America is going through this is very thought out. But I'm asking, हम लोगों को ये दिख रहा है, उन लोगों को नहीं दिख रहा है.
See, if we say that it is just stupid, then we are trying to say that
नहीं मैं स्टूपिड हटा दो. मैं कह रहा हूँ malicious भी है. पर मैं कह रहा हूँ malicious होगा 300 लोगों के एंड से जो ये ऊपर से कंट्रोल कर रहे हैं. जो लोग इसको इफेक्ट दे रहे हैं, जो अमेरिका की लीडरशिप है प्रेजेंट, जो अमेरिका का CIA FBI है, जो लंदन की लीडरशिप है, जो UK कंट्रोल कर रही है, जो EU की लीडरशिप है, जिनके बच्चे रहते हैं उन शहरों में, वो थोड़ी बेवकूफ है. नहीं है ना बेवकूफ. खुद ही कह रहे हैं ना स्टूपिड नहीं है. वो मलिशियस हो सकते हैं पर अपने बच्चों का तो ध्यान रखेंगे ना. दूसरे में वॉर करें, अफगानिस्तान में वॉर करें.
That is what I'm saying.
You are saying वो अपने बच्चों को मरने देंगे फॉर
मैं
व्हाट?
बता तो रहा हूँ इनका कुल धर्म जाति कुछ है ही नहीं अब इनका बच्चा.
अब तो ये 80 साल के हो गए. हाँ.
They have destroyed family as an institution. इनको इतना भी नहीं
तो फिर what is the incentive of their action?
बाजू वाला नेबर सपोज मारा जाता है
तो कुछ तो सोचता होगा.
कंपनी का स्टॉक लेगा जो गन बिक रही है.
अब तो वो 85 साल का हो गया.
kind of
जो बाइडन इज 80 प्लस 85 प्लस क्या एज होगी जो बाइडन की? 80 समथिंग राइट. अब तो वो कुछ कंज्यूम भी नहीं कर सकता. खत्म हो चुका है वो आदमी. वो क्यों अपने देश को बर्बाद होने देगा भारत को ऊपर आगे आने के लिए?
नहीं, भारत को आने देने के लिए नहीं.
फिर वो क्यों सुन रहा है उन 300 लोगों की?
आई डोंट थिंक सो. टू बिल्ड भारत ही हैज टू डू.
Why would he listen to those 300 people when वो बोलेगा ना मैं अपने बच्चों का ध्यान रखूं?
Only he can tell what benefits he got
But see,
for
this is
over
what
the
I mean.
years.
Like, I think this is exactly why it is conspiracy, because we are not even sure of our own logic here.
I don't think it can be a conspiracy with this many countries. I doubt it.
Conspiracies are always with collaborators. Even what is his name, Brutus और वो कौन था, Julius Caesar was killed by conspiracy. का मतलब ये नहीं झूठ होना. Conspiracy का मतलब ये होना collaborators planning something that is not out in the open. हाँ तो conspiracy हो सकता है. The word is not to get lost on. We cannot, हम लोग definitionally lost होके we are devolving to a very mediocre argument. अगर हमें इसको high standard और intellectual और actually real रखना है तो हमें अपने आप से बहुत real question पूछने होंगे. और मैं ये बात मानता हूँ, I'm a big fan of globalist कि ग्लोबलिस्ट कंस्पिरेसी है. मैं बता रहा हूं ना बिकॉज मैंने न्यूयॉर्क का डेवोल्यूशन खुद देखा है. मैं जब 2017 में गया था ये हालात नहीं थे. कोविड के बाद हालात कुछ और थे और वो ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. इतने बेवकूफ नहीं होते लोग. मैं आपके साथ हूं. अभी आयरलैंड में जो बच्चों की स्टैबिंग हुई, उसके बाद जो होटल्स जले, चाहे वो पेरिस में जो क्राइम रेट इंक्रीज हो रहा है, चाहे वो बर्लिन का जो डेवोल्यूशन है, और जहां स्किल्ड लेबर हम अप्लाई कर दें वीजा तो इनकी आफत आ जाती है.
तो
और वहां हाँ, और वो कूद के साला आता रहे. हम बेवकूफ नहीं है, हमें दिखता है ये. दैट पार्ट आई एग्री. बट मैं कह रहा हूं वो भी बेवकूफ नहीं है. ये आपने भी बोला, मैंने भी बोला, उनको भी दिखता है ये. वो अपना देश डिस्ट्रॉय करने में क्यों इंटरेस्टेड होंगे?
Because
इस बात का हमारे पास जवाब नहीं है. अब क्या like
They don't have it. They don't have civilization. They don't have kul dharm. They don't have jati dharm. Why would they secure?
So-
And they are all woke people.
You can't really be saying that, Ankit. You cannot make such a short intellect argument in a conversation that is this deep.
नहीं
क्या
मैं
बात
बता
कर
रहा
रहे हो यार
हूँ.
आप?
They don't have sense of this.
You were
I'm
saying
telling
हम
you.
अपने पेट में चाकू मार रहे हैं क्योंकि हम इतने बेवकूफ हैं.
नहीं, I'm telling you, they don't have any of the sense of what family as an institution is. They change wives every 7th year like a car model.
Right. But
That society you are talking, they will save the country.
they have their troubles. That does
You
not
think
mean
they are bothered about the
Are
country?
you saying they're stupid or are you not saying they're stupid?
I'm saying they're lost.
Are you saying they're stupid or are you saying they're not stupid?
They're lost.
No. The question is not that. The binary is stupid or not stupid. Because lost, we will get lost in definitions. We are as lost.
Stupid looking at the outcomes.
So they are stupid or are they not stupid?
Stupid looking at
So
the
they are
outcomes.
stupid, right? So if they are that stupid कि वो अपने पेट में चाकू मार रहे हैं and they cannot tell, they're that stupid. As presidents and prime ministers of nations that have ruled the world for over 1,000 years, they're that stupid.
Not the presidents. I'm talking about those people who are voting them.
No, तो वो president बेवकूफ है क्या जो कह रहा है हाँ करो मेरे देश की बर्बादी?
उसको तो कहाँ? I don't think they are making policies. I'm saying the decisions are happening somewhere else.
And यहाँ पे हमारी जनता अकलमंद है और हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर भी अकलमंद है.
यहाँ पे तो अकलमंद ही नहीं, we are lucky as well.
So हम कह रहे हैं हमारा प्राइम मिनिस्टर अकलमंद है, उनके सारे प्रेसिडेंट इतने बेवकूफ, उसके पास पावर ही नहीं है.
पावर certainly बहुत compromise हो चुकी है, वो तो दिख रहा है.
Well, I think Ankit, I think you make a very interesting case for a lot of things, but I also think that there is shortcomings within the arguments that you will have to address. Otherwise, there is going to be like issues with.
नहीं, वो तो see whatever that I'm saying is clearly visible, and this was to happen. In fact, even Chanakya was talking about big fish eating up the smaller fish.
Now, before Chanakya,
Now,
Manu was
when you
talking
don't
about
have
this.
Dandaniti in place, this is what will happen.
I think law and order, if anything, is way better in the United States than in India. यहाँ पे हम पुलिस के पास जा नहीं सकते कुछ हो जाए.
Because police wasn't required in this society. Okay.
I think that is such a. हमने देख लिया जब क्या होता है पुलिस
मैं
हटाने
अभी
से.
की नहीं बात कर रहा.
मैं कभी की बात कर रहा हूँ.
हाँ,
आप जब पुलिस
police
नहीं थी तो
wasn't-
आके मार गए ना वो.
Police wasn't.
अभी तो हमने बोला हमें सेंट्रलाइज्ड मिलिट्री चाहिए किसी सेंस में.
You're mixing internal state
No,
law
I'm
and
saying
order
that
with the external.
I'm saying that concepts.
You're mixing
Hold up, let me
two of
finish.
the things.
Let me
No.
finish. I think concepts in reality are fragments of concepts in philosophy. जो हम रियल देखते हैं, चाहे वो डिफेंस हो, डिफेंस में पुलिस आता है, मिलिट्री आता है. एक
यहाँ पे मैं
तरफ
बता रहा हूँ लॉ एंड ऑर्डर इसलिए मेंटेन नहीं है बिकॉज ऑफ पुलिस.
यहाँ पे लॉ एंड ऑर्डर इसलिए मेंटेन है क्योंकि यहाँ का आदमी इवॉल्व है और बाहर के आदमी बेवकूफ है.
बिल्कुल.
फॉर रियल. आप इंसान ये नहीं समझते कि सारे इंसान सेम
आप
है.
कैमराज हटा के देखो वेस्ट में पता चल जाएगा.
मैं वहां
High-tech-
रहा हूँ सर.
आप जो हाईटेक बोल रहे हो ना,
मैं सर रहा
वो
हूँ वहाँ.
पूरा हाईटेक हटा दो.
हाँ.
6 महीने में यू शो मी व्हाट इज द कंडीशन ऑफ द सिटी.
सर मैं वहां रहा हूँ बिना कैमरों के.
आई एम टेलिंग यू.
Chalo, in any case, this has been a very fun conversation. Thank you so much for doing this and coming to my place.
If you're passionate about conversations like this, and if you think, Prakhar, I'd like to listen to more conversations like this, then I must tell you, there is a subscribe button right here and a bell icon right next to it. And it's your moral obligation to press that. Press the subscribe button and I'll see you around for more conversations just like this.